Hey out there, we're going to talk about 8 ways you can be yourself without guilt or judgment. See, my audience is business owners, executives, individuals in professional environments, but some people in my group are own farms or homesteads. They just want to be themselves, but they feel a lot of pressure, outside pressure that's always shaping them to be something else. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about 8 ways you can be yourself without guilt or judgment. I'm Justin Hitt, and I'm going to actually use this particular video on several of my podcasts. I have podcasts ranging from helping landowners get more from their land to helping business owners and executives gain more influence. And they're both really about the same thing of you having more control over your life. Now, when I say, do you want more control over your life? Many people say yes. And I say, well, are you being your authentic self? And they'll say, well, because you know how it is. Sometimes people have impressions that they want to impose upon you. Maybe it was your parents. Your parents said, well, you should get a professional job. You should go to college and get a professional job. Some parents said you should be blue collar because we've been blue collar and we worked in the factory like the rest of the family, and you should do that. See, there's a lot of people who should on top of you explaining how your life should be the way they ought it to be rather than allowing you to discover. And I think that's something that we harm our children with because we don't allow our children to try new things. That's why I like youth programs like Boy Scouts of America, Girl Scouts of America, even though I know they're not named that anymore. Youth programs that challenge the child to have small achievements in a wide area of discovery rather than testing for a certain test or learning something because it's dictated, allowing the child to discover, and there's homeschool programs that let you do this, but discover who they are and what they want to be. And that's the number one thing of the 8 ways to be yourself without judgment is to really discover who you are. If you guys noticed, which you may not have noticed, I look different than other people. I don't do that on purpose. I'm not trying to be punk. Like when I was in high school, I was trying to find myself and I was punk, had a mohawk, wore combat boots. It just is in your youth, you go through these discoveries, but when you get to adult, they say you should be this way. You must be this way. You must fit into the culture. You must be this thing. And if you haven't gone through the self-discovery, you could lose yourself in what other people believe you ought to be and actually wear this mask. And we'll talk about the challenges of wearing that mask and what problems it can cause in your mental health, your frustration and anxiety. There's a lot of things that go on today because people aren't able to be themselves. So number one is self-discovery. And what is self-discovery? Self-discovery for some people, in my case, was uh, mental assessments. I took not the little exams you take online, but I took like the Kobe exam that tells me about how my work style is. I've taken Strengths Finder, tells me about what my strengths are and areas I can improve. I've challenged myself in Toastmasters to be evaluated by third parties to learn about my speaking style. What do I do good? What do I do bad? One of the things that I do really well is evaluations. So that's why I do coaching and I do consulting because I can look at complex situations and evaluate potential solutions based on the interests and needs of the individual who has the problem. And so self-discovery is challenging your beliefs about yourself. Could include journaling, but why we do it? Because how will you know who you really are unless you try? Now, here's the problem. Here's the problem. Because a lot of times when we've suppressed who we really are, or we believe that we're not good enough, or that we are, allowing people to tell us how we should live culturally, experientially, sometimes we fear that we would be ostracized or not accepted if we're who we are. So we self-discover in difficult and often destructive ways. So what I'm talking about as self-discovery is talking with a trusted friend, is praying, meditating, it's reading, it's trying new hobbies, it's really discovering what your interests are, but then going a little bit further into personal assessments. Now, for executives out there, as Brian Tracy recommended many, many years ago, there are executive-based assessments that you can take to learn more about who you are. There's psychological exams, physical exams. There are ways to challenge yourself that will help you figure out, like, what are your interests? What are your desires? Who do you like to be? What do you want to be? How do you see yourself in the future? How could you improve yourself over how you've seen yourself in the past? And then when we get in there, then the second one is for both the judgment that you're going to give to yourself, but the judgment others will give you when you do something a little bit different, is that number two, and please forgive my language here, you have to give zero fucks. Serious. I dress the way now I do, by the way. I've struggled before with self-image. I've struggled with trying to keep up appearances, and I still will when I go to certain events dress as it's appropriate for that event. However, I'm still going to carry my character. I'm still going to be who I am. I'm still going to sometimes be awkward in conversations. But ultimately, if you're judged by another person, if someone looks you right in the eyes and says, hey, look, that's unacceptable behavior, that's a different thing than, hey, we'd prefer you not look that way. Okay? You have to give the zero fucks enough to look at yourself and say, is this appropriate behavior, or was that their thing? Was that their problem? Now, I personally believe in etiquette, politeness, being respectful to other people. I'm not giving you a license to basically be yourself in a destructive way, because I don't believe people were cultivated, or our species would have survived this long if destruction was our purpose. I really believe that creation and helping people and solving problems and working together as teams and enjoying the diversity of this world in the sense of positive promotion, because sometimes we see diversity and inclusion is actually exclusion. And we'll talk about that in another program. But right now, number two, not really worrying about the criticism that other people give you, and instead giving yourself a chance to review and evaluate it. Because there will be times, so for example, I'm in my home, it's Sunday, I'm wearing a tunic, okay? I wouldn't wear a tunic to a business meeting necessarily. Now, if that business meeting was on the beach, I certainly would. But I own a kilt. I own I own a couple tuxedos. I own suits and ties. I own casual wear. I own work wear. I'm going to wear the costume appropriate for the environment, but it's still going to be me within that costume. And so I've made a choice to wear what's appropriate. And sometimes, and I've had this happen on several work occasions, showed up in a suit and tie because I know a senior leader is going to be there. And my boss took me aside, and this was a while ago, and I'll share some of my experiences because, I've struggled with this too. I felt guilty being myself because maybe it didn't go over too well, or I judged myself harshly, or judged other people because of a false sense of what I believe things should be. But I dressed up for a workplace where we had senior level and then we had customers in the room, and I wore a suit and tie. Now, this was back in the day, cleanly shaved, fresh baby face. I don't shave anymore with blades. I've made a decision to do that based on some factors we won't need to go into here. But here's the point. My supervisor took me aside and said to me, Justin, who do you think you are? I see you coming in here in a suit and tie. Now, don't get me wrong. The customer wore a suit and tie. Some of the other people in the office wore a suit and tie, but they tended to be senior level positions. And I was just a lowly old, uh, what they described as a computer repair guy. But I was a Unix systems administrator, and I was responsible for about $20 million in equipment. And so when the guy comes, when the big boss, the admiral comes through, when the customer comes through, and I'm doing a presentation, I'm wearing a suit and tie. Now, the rest of the time when I'm crawling under the floors and I'm hauling equipment back and forth, I'm going to wear a collared polo shirt. I try to wear a collared shirt when I go out. I try to wear clean clothes all the time unless I'm working in the yard. But ultimately, my point being is that I allowed that judgment to I even remember the guy's name, okay? I allowed that judgment to stew. And did that help me? No, it doesn't help me one bit. It makes for a good story later down the line after you realize what a fool I was to let that bother me. But if I thought it was respectful to the senior management who was visiting the office to wear a suit and tie, it doesn't matter if everybody else is casual Friday and they're in blue jeans and t-shirts. It does not matter. Again, you are responsible for you. Let's go number 3. Treat others well. See, I was treating the management well, not trying to showboat, not trying to impress them, but I felt the admiral shows up in a uniform. The Navy folks on that base show up in a uniform. Now, even when I've worked with Fortune 100 banks, healthcare providers, IT services providers, if I notice a uniform of senior level people coming to visit, I'm going to dress somewhere between where I usually dress and where they're dressed. I'm not going to one-up them and wear a tuxedo. I don't need that attention. But again, it's because I'm treating them well. I'm going to make sure that if I'm in a room with, I work a lot with people that are in different countries, Philippines, India, Taiwan, China, Saudi Arabia, all over the world, Ireland. When I work with these people, I make a concerted effort to understand their customs and to think and listen carefully to maybe a language dialogue difference, or even I worked for Lenovo for a little while, and I was the only one on the phone who didn't speak fluent Mandarin. But I made sure I studied every night. I took notes. I listened carefully so that I could understand what I needed to do and what my role was, even though all the calls were in Mandarin. Okay, so this is about treating others well, because if we can't treat others well, how are we going to treat ourselves? And then if we're looking at ourself as in a past self and a future self, a past self that is pretty much gone. What happened to you in the past was then, this is now, but there's a future self that you want to be. We need to treat that person well. Now, what does it mean to treat your future self well? Well, first off, it's going to be saving for the future. It's going to be building strong business relationships. It's going to be conducting and producing an environment around you that's healthy. I made a concerted decision a while back to only wear natural fiber clothing. Now, I didn't go out and throw away all my polyester, not that I had polyester leisure suits, but you got most of my suits are wool, most of my t-shirts are cotton, but there were blends. And I decided I wasn't going to contribute to microplastics, and I decided I wasn't going to buy any more clothing. And if I can avoid it, items in the household that were made out of plastic or contained plastic products. Turns out it's very difficult to do, but at least for clothing, I could choose natural fiber clothing. So this is a cotton shirt, and this is cotton, and it turns out it's pretty comfortable. And the interesting thing is, if you dress in layers, even on a hot day, because I'm outside wearing long sleeves on a 85-degree day, turns out loose fitting long sleeve clothing super comfortable. You don't need synthetic clothing for that. Now, are there purposes for synthetics? Certainly are. But again, I want to treat others well. And that part of my conceptualization of that, both in treating myself well and treating others well, was to reduce microplastics by choosing clothing that had less plastic in it, or no plastic in it. In fact, I don't even buy new clothes anymore. This is one of the number two. Don't give fucks. I don't buy new clothing anymore. I just don't, because well, I got plenty of clothes. Why should I? Now that's my choice. It doesn't have to be your choice, but it's an example of how you can treat others well, but you also need to reciprocate, treat yourself well, and then treat both your current self and your present self well. Now, your past self you can learn from, but again, that it's already gone. So who you are today is the result of who you knew in the past, the lessons you've learned, and I hope you take this lesson to improve yourself. We're on number 4. Let's solve real problems. So I've given you some examples, but let's focus on the how you can be yourself without judgment or guilt. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that other people won't judge, but that's not really a problem you can solve. See, there is prejudice and bias, and there's internal dialogues people have, and there's people with low self-esteem that project on others. There's people who are jealous, and they'll go after you because you're different. But it turns out throughout the world, the people that have been most successful, that have got the greatest results, that produce more outcomes, are usually unusual. See, if you act like everybody else, and if you think like everybody else, you're just average. And the average folks are not producing high incomes. The average folks don't have personal freedom. The average folks can't think clearly. The average folks aren't healthy. The average folk are cattle to consumerism. So again, I'm telling you a little bit about my changes, but I've met individuals that have gone further. They not only wouldn't buy new clothing, they don't buy anything that's new. They look for valuable used or valuable goods that are just in the general secondary marketplace. And so they go to thrift shops, antique stores. They go to get old antique tools. They go to pawn shops. They buy their stuff. And it turns out they're multimillionaires because they haven't expended capital on things that are new, things that are going to depreciate, things that don't really have an everyday value. Now, of course, if they're getting tools for their business, they're buying new tools for their business. Okay. They also had a culture of mending and repairing rather than just throwing something out, being wasteful. And sometimes they would, if you go out and buy an antique Mercedes-Benz, I don't know if that's, if that's along the line, but again, it was along their decisions to solve real problems in their life. So instead of projecting on someone else and saying, you should recycle, you should do this, they just took it upon themselves to be a good example. Now, what else do I mean by solve real problems? The people who are extremely successful are unique individuals, but they solve problems in the marketplace. And number 5 is also about satisfying market demand. But they solve problems that are meaningful. They focus their time and energy on problems that have impact and results, not just for themselves, but for people around them. And then number 5, being marketable solutions, they are heavily rewarded and folks ignore a lot of the details. So if you look at Bill Gates, he is not, he's not Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's not muscular. He's not super healthy, but he's given us health advice. You look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, super strong, but when you read his biography, find out that he sometimes had weaknesses and challenges. If you look at Elon Musk and you go right down the list, every one of these people have fundamental flaws, but they again discover what their strengths are and focus there. They give zero fucks what you think about them. They treat others well in the majority of the situations. They solve real problems in society. They solve real problems for themselves. Sometimes those don't go together. They also satisfy market demand. Now again, nobody's perfect. If you can't make yourself better, then don't try to improve others. The next thing we're going to do is number 6, do our best. And that really has to do with, with day by day in every way, I'll be better and better. I think that was Emile Cure. But ultimately, are you better today for what you did yesterday? Will you be better tomorrow for what you're doing today? If we're spending time investing in ourselves, we don't have time for judgment. We don't have time to push our thoughts on other people. We don't have time to try to change the world around us. Now, we've talked about internal locus of control and external locus of control. Those with external locus control are easier to manipulate because they believe someone else should solve the problem. I am advocating that you be responsible for yourself. So doing your best means understanding what your baseline is and then adding to that, stretching, challenging yourself, pushing yourself. And why is this important? Well, because you might discover that while you can't do a lot each day, that over time, the small things you're able to do create massive and valuable results. Even if you look back at your past self, there was a time you couldn't ride a bicycle, you could barely get yourself dressed, you couldn't even use the bathroom without assistance. Now, you might have that time in the future because everybody gets old, hopefully. But in the past, you were inept at so many things that today you are a master of. Okay, now this is not a pump up motivational speech here. I'm not that type of person. But understand, though, is if you do your best each day, you can be proud of what you do. If other people say, look, you look weird, you got a beard, your hair looks weird. I had a comment from somebody about my eyebrows. They said, we really need to shave your eyebrows. I said, well, they're my eyebrows. Why would you need to shave my eyebrows? I like my eyebrows. There's ladies that try to get eyebrows this thick, and mine are natural. Now, I'm going to look like a mad scientist, but I'm okay with that. But let's get back on track. Here's the important part. Do your best to get up each day and do what matters, and eventually nobody really pays attention to anything else. They pay attention to the problems you're solving, the value you deliver to the marketplace, the service you deliver to customers, the leadership that you're producing, the smart decisions that you make. And then all their jealousy and hatred and their biases and their bigotry and their frustration, you don't even have to worry about that stuff because it's their problem, not yours. Now, they can impose that problem upon you, but again, we're talking about doing your best in financial areas, in day-to-day activity areas, in your spiritual development, becoming the whole person that you can be so that you are more resilient towards these challenges that folks will push upon you. Next, number 7 is you want to become an expert. Okay. I wrote about this on LinkedIn a little while ago. I really truly believe that everybody, if you just put them all in a big group, and you summarize the strengths and weaknesses of every people, will have an equal number of strengths and equal number of weaknesses within a certain margin of error. And everybody has something to contribute. Now, what's important as a leader is to organize people so that we put the right peoples on teams, so that strengths complement other people's weaknesses, so that we have a whole and conducive picture. This is different than diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is about your own self-discovery to make sure that your leadership material, that you can do what you need to do, that you're doing your best, and that those individuals on that team do their best, because nobody should get a token promotion or a token reward. I know that's going to be controversial, and my past self would have been upset and worried about saying that I might upset somebody. But again, my podcast, I could say, it's my podcast. I can say what I want to. Anyway, it's just easier to be yourself. Before we go into why number 7 is so important in being the expert, trying to be someone else and putting on a face for the crowd is a lot of hard work. You're constantly afraid you're going to slip up, that you might say the wrong thing. You're probably going to say the wrong thing even when you're saying the right thing. There are people today over the COVID thing that said factual truths that were persecuted, lost jobs, got just massive amounts of suffering heaped upon them. Now that's social conditioning so that you'll conform to the crowd, but you don't have to conform to the crowd, because in a global marketplace, it's a large enough market that I might piss off 50 people, and then I might make delighted 50 people, and then there are 50 people right in the middle. You don't need a whole lot of customers to be successful in business. You only need one job. In most cases, one job. If you get one good job, you can do all kinds of great things. But my point being is that it's such a big marketplace that you're not going to please everybody. You're not going to make everybody happy, but you'll make enough people happy that you don't have to be someone else to do so. Right now, unfortunately, children are dreaming of being YouTube influencers. They're dreaming of being music producers and top sports people, not realizing that simple jobs, and I'm not saying the jobs are simple as far as like easy to do. All these jobs require some level of skill, as I was describing before. The plumber, the electrician, and the air conditioning guy, as well as the computer programmer, the IT manager, and the project manager, they all have skill sets that are required to do those jobs well. And the skill sets are not necessarily interchangeable. And sometimes they seem different, but uniquely altogether, they can make a building function. They can do a large project. Working together, we do better. The key is you need to find your expertise. Now, you don't have to be the expert in one area. You can have 2 or 3 areas of expertise. You could have career-oriented areas of expertise. You can have things that you're known for being able to do. But again, I want to tie it back to marketability. I want to tie it back to solving real problems. If you're really good at recalling Spider-Man episodes and outlining the differences between character diversity and costume design, unless you're in the industry where that's important, then it may not be valuable over time. Unless you're maybe a teenager and that's what you like to do. But again, try new things, better your best, become an expert in some area, focus on that expertise, and you won't have a lot of time to worry about what other people think of you. Finally, number 8 is find your own style. While I have been accused of cultural appropriation, I do think it's a much better way for society to function is if we find the best practices in society. Just like I'd wear a suit and tie if I'm going to meet with senior level executives because they wear suit and ties, unless the environment was different, and then I would dress appropriate for that environment. That is a best practice because I'm addressing the cognitive biases that they have, the expectations that they have, and the potential prejudice they may have if I were to show up in my work clothes, which are overalls and a old big old straw hat, and I really look like a farmer. In a farm environment, I wouldn't show up in a suit and tie to muck out, a stall or clean up some turn a pile of compost. I'm going to show up appropriately within both of those contexts because I'm more aligned with who I really am. And again, you don't need to know who you are right now. There's a process of discovery, and you may never discover who you are. But wearing a face that you know or you cognitively connect, it doesn't feel right, but you're going to do it because that's what's expected of you, is not good. It doesn't serve your mental health. Finding your own style could be a little eclectic. I've known people who dress very conservatively and they'll have like a little fun pin on their shirt, which is kind of cool. I know people who kind of dress with bright colors because they really just like the bright colors. Now, if you go in and do a cognitive assessment and they're doing a QEEG on your brain and it comes back that you're doing that because that's just who you are, then all the more reason to keep doing it, even if other people say you look like a clown. or sometimes I'll wear I will clothes that don't quite match, but I like bright colors. And they say, well, you don't match. Can you go change your clothes? And you could be the subject of abuse if somebody close to you says you don't look right. Go change your clothes. I've known grown adults in their 70s who will feel shame because their spouse will come in and say, your clothes don't look right. We're not leaving the house like that. I don't want to be seen with you in public because you look that way. Now, how do they solve that problem? They say, well, just pick out my clothes. I'll wear whatever you want me to wear. And then they just dress up however they want them to wear. And they always secretly have a little something. They'll have a, bracelet, or they'll have a certain, pair of underwear that makes them uniquely themselves. So again, there's some balance here in judgment that's necessary. What I'm suggesting is that you can be yourself without guilt or judgment, not by conforming to the needs of others, but sometimes finding the compromise as you're discovering what works for you. Because in the same frame of the 70-year-old that his wife was deeply ashamed that he wouldn't wear out, one gentleman said, because this is I don't know if this is tasteful, but he just said basically, well, then I'm going to go out on my own. So if she didn't want to be seen with him and she didn't like what he wore, he was really into golf, the goofy golf pants and stuff. And she was just, oh my gosh, she was just ashamed all the time. But he realized that's not his problem. The golf pants, going to the country club, going to a social event. If he went to a wedding or something, we're like gray or black, but that's okay. My point being, again, find your own style. Become an expert. Very often the expertise can overcome the nuances in your dress or mannerisms. Do your best. Be your best you. Find positive characteristics. Even if society is telling you that those positive characteristics are racist, or those positive characteristics are inachievable for somebody of your condition, go for it and do the best. Satisfy a market demand, because when there's a market demand, you're often rewarded for being who you are and having your unique perspective and your unique thinking. Solve real problems. If you're solving novel problems, it can be frustrating. And some of the advice you're getting to refocus yourself could be useful advice. Again, that's why we treat others well, especially ourselves. It doesn't mean consumerism. That means if you're having a hard day, look at it, assess it. Don't care about the judgment of others. That's number two. Give zero fucks, and really take that number one, self-discovery, to go inside. Now, if you're a business executive or a business owner and it's related to your business development or risk management in your industry, then you hire a professional coach. If it's career oriented, you hire a career coach. If it's family oriented, maybe there are some conflicts with spouses, then you get family counseling. If it's a spiritual challenge or an emotional challenge, you might find a pastor or prayer, or you might find a psychologist or therapy that may work with you. The point that I'm making is that guilt and judgment that you feel is arbitrary. It's not important for the outcomes that you deserve to achieve and the outcomes that you desire to achieve. The self-reflection is helpful because there are times people are complete idiots by their own judgment and they know they need to change. Maybe you have a bad habit that you're going to overcome, but it starts with these 8 ways to be yourself without guilt or judgment. It is quite possible that your natural strengths, your natural personality, and who you actually are is better than who you thought you should be. It's entirely possible. But there are so many people in this world, it is impossible for your natural self, for your normal mannerisms, unless you're an evil bastard. But it's impossible for you to be completely useless. You will have some value in society somewhere. It's up to you to find it. Nobody's going to bless you with the credentials that's going to let you do what you want to do. You can just start doing what you want to do, as long as we have these 8 factors. I want to thank you for listening. I'm Justin Hitt. If you have questions about what I've covered today, I've got a website, www.jwhco.org. If you go to that website and ask your questions about anything you want, I'll see if I can answer. If I can't answer them, I'll connect you with somebody who can. We don't have the time to go over the different newsletters I have and the different special reports and books, but on that website, www.jwhco.org or .com, there's a catalog. It's got some products. Look me up on Amazon. I think I got some books on Amazon. Anyway, I'm here to help you transform business relationships into profits guaranteed. The best and most important relationship to have success in business is the one that you have with yourself and your family. First and foremost. And these 8 ways to be yourself without guilt or judgment is a start to your path of success. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next podcast.